Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. This video is on your Raw results from the 24th of August. Birthdays: Shofunaki, 1968. Vince McMahon himself, 1945. Rocky Johnson, The Rock's dad, 1944. Chino Sabatelli, 1983. Grand Metallic, 1988. Birthdays on 25th, Ivan Koloff, 1942. Crash Holly, 1971. Kylie Ray, 1992. August 26th birthdays, Petey Williams, Petey Pump, 1981. Aleister Black has apparently turned heel as of Raw results and teased cryptic weeks ago on Raw, proving the turn. Tonight's Raw saw Black return to Raw for his first appearance since being injured by Murphy and Seth Rollins last month in the spot with the steel ring steps. Black was a guest on the KO show, but came out with a covering over his eye, like eye patch, like a pirate, to sell last month's attack. Kevin Owens began the interview, but Black stumbled out of his seat to one knee. Owens went to check on him, but Black reached up and decked him. Black then followed up with a black mask to bring Owens to the mat. He then ended the segment by marching back to the mat with his music hitting. WWE continuing to experience a few fan-related issues with the Thunderdome viewing experience at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. As seen in the screenshots below, at this link here, Chris Benoit and Super Mario were among the photos that fans got into the USA Network broadcast. Also, how a fan was banned after getting a Fire the Velveteen Dream sign to display during Sunday's SummerSlam pay-per-view. Monday's Raw had a rare honor of being not only a post-pay-per-view show to SummerSlam, but also a go-home show for this Sunday's Payback pay-per-view. Task of moving on from one pay-per-view, building up to the next. In 1 week's time, Angle's one show forced changes to the script of last night's Raw. Vince McMahon made numerous changes yesterday morning and throughout Monday itself. According to the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, Vince then arrived to Raw around 7 p.m. to make a few more minor adjustments. The final scripting of the show reportedly went off after 9 p.m. So from that time frame, that's when scripting was changed. So Raw was an hour into the show before official script was completed. While a lot was changed at the last minute, Raw Underground segments are taped in the afternoon, so they weren't. WWE had previously built up Dolph Ziggler and Ivar for this week, but it was just canceled. No reason was reported. Instead, Bobby Lashley dominated most of the Raw Underground segments, taking out both Ivar and Dolph Ziggler in separate fights. Dave Meltzer also reported that Payback matches have already been decided and weren't switched up. Payback is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday, 6 p.m. Central, at the WWE Thunderdome in Orlando, Florida. And here's the current card: Bray Wyatt versus Roman Reigns versus Braun Strowman for the Universal title, no holds barred match. And it's, spoil that, Roman Reigns will win the title. Bayley and Sasha Banks, the champion, versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the WWE Women's title. Apollo Crews, the champion, versus Bobby Lashley for the U.S. title. Keith Lee versus Randy Orton, which will be more set up from the Raw results. Week 4 of WWE's Raw Underground featured a short amount of TV time for the new Work True Style fighting concept. The first segment featured the Hurt Business MVP Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, meeting host Shane McMahon and a security guard with interest to Raw Underground. Lashley was looking to fight anyone due to his earlier loss in an arm wrestling contest to U.S. champion Apollo Crews. Lashley entered Raw Underground and choked out an enhancement talent. Dolph Ziggler hit the ring to fight Lashley, and they brawled until Lashley launched him from the ring. And apparently that's the rules. If you get launched out, well, that was your Bloodsport rules. Face first into a wall on the outside. MVP and Benjamin also joined in by attacking a few enhancement talents. The announcer noted that Ziggler was set to face Ivar of the Viking Raiders later on, which did happen, and a fight that had been advertised since last week. Raw Underground later returned to Lashley, getting the best of Cedric Alexander until MVP called him to stop. Ivar ended up taking out Lashley, which brought MVP and Benjamin back into the mix. Eric made the save, and the two teams brawled until the Hurt Business got the upper hand, with Lashley forcing Ivar to tap out. Hurt Business stood tall on the platform, with Shane signing off for tonight. Until next week, for Raw Underground. Ivar versus Ziggler never happened, as it was advertised, so that was changed. Former Evolve talent Liam Gray was the enhancement talent who fought Lashley before Ziggler. Also noted, there was a lot of negative talk about how WWE changed Keith Lee's theme song for his debut on the post SummerSlam edition of Raw. Word now is that Lee signed off on the theme change. According to Fightful Select, however, WWE also been urging talent to ditch their CFOs' theme songs as of late. NXT WWE parted ways with CFOs a while back, and the producers reportedly signed a terrible deal with their publisher that sees the publisher get half of the royalties. WWE does not have the same publishing deal with the group as they do with legendary composer Jim Johnston, which is why there have been so many changes to WWE music over the last year or so. Comments by Drade at Too Sweet for Life. Why does it legit sound like they tried to give Keith Lee a rip-off Brock Lesnar theme song? Hashtag WWE Raw. Again, another tweet. And he has yours now. Vince just wants him to beat Brock Lesnar. The Black Brock Lesnar. WWE has issued a statement on KK imagery that made it onto the Thunderdome during the Raw live episode. As noted, there was also images of Chris Benoit and Super Mario. The fans were able to get into the Thunderdome seats for last night's show. I think I posted it earlier, but there was a front row image of a man wearing a KKK robe, apparently waving a Confederate flag. There was even an appearance to be a beheading. WWE issued a statement and said they are working to ban those involved from future events. This apparent behavior does not reflect the WWE values, and we have zero tolerance for these unacceptable acts. We are working to ban those involved from future events, and per our policies, any inappropriate actions will result in removal from the live stream. WWE's statement to the New York Post said, and you can see the pictures at this link. SummerSlam results. Pre-show match, U.S. title match, Apollo Crews versus MVP. I'm only going to give you the finish of the match. MVP slams Crews face first into the announce table and brings him back in. MVP then gets hung up in the corner and Crews drops him. Crews goes up top, but MVP crosses him. MVP climbs up with a superplex and a Q count. Crews comes back to close down MVP to the floor, then runs the ropes and leads out, taking him back down. Referee counts now. Both make it back in and then down. Crews unloads in the corner and hits a big splash. Crews drops MVP again and hits a standing moonsault for a 2 count. The tangle and Crews blocks the playmaker. Crews comes right back and hits a sit-down powerbomb for the pin and the win. So he retains his title. Match number 1. SmackDown title match, Asuka versus Bayley. Bayley goes up top for the flying elbow, but Asuka catches her with an armbar on the way down. Asuka stops the hole to kick a screaming Banks back into the barrier from the apron with her interruption. Asuka and Bayley brawl on the floor now. Asuka brings it back in, but has to kick Banks away again. Banks rolls Asuka up for a 2 count. Asuka kicks her in the gut. Banks gets on the apron again, but Asuka charges and knocks her off when Bayley moves out of the way. Bayley takes advantage and rolls Asuka up for the win to retain. Tag team title match from Raw. Andrade and Angel Garza versus Street Profits. Garza turns forward upside down in the corner and runs in with a knee. Andrade tags back in with a stop while Ford is upside down. Ford kicks out at 2. More back and forth for a few minutes. The finish sees the Profits hit the double team on Garza, who tried to get a tag, but couldn't, as Andrade were checking on Vega after she got knocked off the apron for her involvement, and the Street Profits retain. No DQ match. Loser leaves WWE. Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose. Rose tries to mount some offense, but Deville gets the standing dragon sleeper applied. Deville takes Rose to the mat and tightens the hold. Deville is forced to break her triangle choke after a few minutes. Deville talks some trash and keeps Rose down. Rose fights up with a big slap to the face. Deville stops her with a knee to the gut. They go on, and Rose drops Deville with a knee for a 2 count. Rose ends up slamming Deville's face into the announce table several times. Rose puts Deville on the table at ringside, but she rolls off when Rose goes back to the ring. Rose slides a chair at Deville's face across the table twice, but they miss. They go at it again in front of the announcers now. Deville and Rose collide. Deville hits a jumping kick to the gut. They bring it back in and Tagle in to the middle of the ring. Rose with 2 knee strikes, the third running knee to put Deville back down. Rose with a big face buster in the middle of the ring. Rose yells at Deville to get back up. Rose with another knee to the face and pins for the win. Street fight, Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins. Dominic unloads on both heels of ringside. Dominic with a 619 of sorts to the floor. He brings Rollins back in and hits a second 619. Dominic goes up top for the Spark Splash, but Rollins gets his knees up. Rollins drags Dominic away from Ray, who is now in the ring, but cuffed still. Rollins mounts Dominic's back and taunts him with Ray. Rollins breaks and gets up and nails a big stomp in the middle of the ring while Ray reaches for his son. Rollins covers for the pin and the win. Raw Women's title match, Asuka versus Sasha Banks. Banks counters a big shot and delivers a knee to the face, but Asuka kicks out. Banks ends up missing a frog splash. Bayley talks Banks up, but Asuka goes on and gets the Asuka lock. They tangle some more, and Asuka gets dropped into a pin for a 2 count. Banks goes right into a bank statement. They tangle some more on the mat with the counters in submission. Bayley gets on the apron, but Asuka misses a hip attack on both of them. This chaos leads to Asuka getting the Asuka lock on Banks. Banks goes for the ropes, but Asuka pulls her back. Banks taps out. Winner and new champion, Asuka. WWE title match, Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre. Orton with a power slam for a 2 count. Orton hobbles over for a draping DDT, but it's blocked. Drew with a big Glasgow kiss headbutt. Drew makes him tumble to the floor. They come back at 7 count. Orton hits the second rope draping DDT. Orton ready for the RKO. Now the booze. Orton gets up instead and stands over Drew. Orton backs up and ready for the punt kick. Orton goes for the punt kick, but Drew turns that into the big power bomb. Drew is fired up now, and he goes to the corner and waits for Orton to get back up. Drew misses the Claymore as Orton ducks. Drew dodges the RKO, but comes right back, ends up ducking another RKO, backsliding Orton for the pin to retain. And Drew said, "You wouldn't see it coming." In his promos, winner and still champion, Drew McIntyre. Falls count anywhere match for the Universal title, The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. Strowman with a huge clubbing forearm to the chest, dropping the Fiend at ringside for a 2 count. Strowman brings it back in the ring and goes for a second power slam, but he stalls him. Strowman hits the middle of the ring for a 2 count. In the middle of the ring, Strowman pounds on Strowman while he's down. Streaming in his face, Strowman goes back out to the open toolbox and grabs a box cutter. Strowman brings the box cutter back in the ring, starts cutting and slicing the mat up, pulling foam away from exposing the wood. And it did not look like the regular 2x6s that cover the ring before the padding goes down. Fiend then gets up, drives Strowman into the wood with a Uranagi. Then a Sister Abigail. Fiend with another Sister Abigail on the exposed wood. Fiend covers for the pin to win the title. Winner and new Universal Champion, Bray Wyatt the Fiend. After the match, the Fiend stands tall with the title as his music plays. Fiend is suddenly attacked by someone from behind. It's none other than Roman Reigns returning. Reigns takes Fiend out with a spear, begins unloading and hits a spear on Strowman at ringside. Fiend yells that he made Strowman, and Strowman isn't a monster unless he's here. Reigns grabs a steel chair and unloads on Strowman at ringside. Over and over with chair shots while he's down. Reigns returns to the ring, takes Fiend out with another spear. Reigns picks up the title and talks trash down at the Fiend while he's down on the mat. Reigns raises the Universal title in the air, and SummerSlam goes off the air. And the t-shirt he was wearing now says, "Destroy everything, leave." Actually, everyone, and then ... leave. Possibly hitting, he's the leader of Retribution. That ends the show of your SummerSlam. Now for your Raw results. Tonight's Raw opens up with a usual intro, live from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. Your Thunderdome, which has been transformed. Tom Phillips welcomes us to the show. He's joined by Samoa Joe and Byron Saxton, still on commentary. The Hype Tonight Show, Lumberjack match for a Raw Women's title match, with Asuka defending against Sasha Banks. Lumberjacks, just like on last week's SmackDown. I couldn't think of Lumberjacks. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and Seth Rollins. So it's the tag team, and you got the Lumberjacks. Plus WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry officiating arm wrestling contest between Bobby Lashley and U.S. Champion. They already gave you the results for it. Tom revealed that Roman Reigns will be on Friday's SmackDown to sign the contract for the No Holds Barred Triple Threat match at Payback this Sunday with Braun Strowman and Universal Champion, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt. We got the ring out comes WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. He hits the ring and raises the title as the power goes off. We'll get a video from SummerSlam win over Randy Orton. Drew welcomes everyone to the first Raw from Thunderdome. He gets the virtual fans to give him a thumbs up. Drew goes on about why he beat Orton at SummerSlam. He's hungrier than Orton and works harder. Drew says he's proud to be WWE Champion. Drew knows what it's like to wonder where your next paycheck has come from. Something Orton has never experienced because he's always been protected. Drew goes on ranting about Orton and says Orton recently declared himself the greatest wrestler ever for winning the match at Backlash. So he must be the greatest wrestler. Now he beat Orton with a wrestling hold at SummerSlam. Drew challenges Orton to step up again so he can claymore his head off this time. Drew exits the ring as the music hits. Starts up. Drew stops on the stage and raises the title, but Orton attacks from behind again. They brawl, but Orton unloads and sends him into the LED board. Titantron. They fight into the gorilla position backstage. Orton goes for a rake in the eyes and sends Drew face first into the wall. Officials run in to break up the fight, and Orton kicks Drew in the head. Drew stumbles around on the floor, and officials keep Orton back. Orton stares down at Drew and delivers another big kick to the head while he's down, the punt kick. Officials get Orton to leave the gorilla position and we go to commercial. As he's selling a injury, concussion. Back from the break, we see what happened between Orton and McIntyre. We see Drew being helped to his feet by a referee and producers Sanjay Dutt and Adam Pearce. Drew brushes them off and insists he's fine and walks away. Tom Hype's Raw debut of Keith Lee. We get a video package for the former WWE NXT champion who lost the belt to Karrion Kross at TakeOver 30 on Saturday night. Sarah Schreiber stops Nia Jax backstage for comments, asking why she's here. Jax asks where her manners are. Schreiber reminds Jax that she was suspended for putting her hands on a WWE official. Jax says all she had to do was go to that WWE official, Pat Buck, and apologize. Jax yells at Schreiber and turns around to Shayna Baszler, approaching her. Baszler says, we're all counting down until when Jax gets herself suspended again. Jax offers to help Baszler with her match against Bayley tonight. They take a few more shots at each other and trade insults. Baszler welcomes Jax back and then walks off. Bayley versus Shayna Baszler. We go back to the ring, and out comes Women's Tag Team Champions, SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley with Sasha Banks. Mike Rowland does the introductions for the non-title match. There's heavy tension between Banks and Bayley tonight. No smiles, and they head to the ring. Shayna Baszler was out next. Baszler hits the ring, and we get a replay to go. But the music interrupts. Out comes Nia to Nia Jax to the stage. Jax stares Baszler down from the stage to go commercial. Back from the break, they lock up. Jax is still watching from the ramp. Baszler strikes first, sends Bayley into the corner to regroup. They lock up again, and Baszler works on the arm, taking Bayley to the mat. Baszler keeps control and sends Bayley to the floor. She joins Banks to regroup as the referee counts. Banks yells at Baszler. Bayley returns to the ring and decks Baszler in the gut. Beats her down. Bayley keeps control and grounds Baszler with a headlock. They run the ropes and Baszler drops her. More back and forth. Banks ends up providing another distraction, allowing Bayley to drop Baszler from behind. Bayley takes Baszler to the corner and works her over. Bayley with a suplex for a 2 count. Bayley drops Baszler again and nails an elbow to the back of the head, then covers for a 2 count. Baszler gets up and unloads with body shots. Baszler gets into the floor by Bayley. The referee counts. Now, Baszler gets back in the ring, but Jax runs down and stops her, pulling her back down by her leg. Referee calls for the belt. Disqualification. Winner, Shayna Baszler. Bell rings and Jax decks Baszler again. Baszler tries to fight, but Jax works her over. Banks and Bayley are all smiles, and Jax brings Baszler in the ring. They try to talk Jax into attacking Baszler again. Jax and Baszler end up staring the champ down as they back up the ramp. Jax and Baszler exit the ring and stare the champs down as they continue backing up the ramp. Jax and Baszler look at each other again, smiling back at the champs. Kevin Owens backstage looking for Aleister Black. He finally knocks on the door and it opens to pitch Black. Black must be in there. Owens was wondering if Black is still going to appear on his show tonight. Owens says he will see Black out there. Owens walks off and we see an arm reach out to close the door. Back to commercial. Back from the break, Kevin Owens is in the ring for another must-see edition of Kevin Owens Show. Owens welcomes us to the first show of in its Thunderdome. Owens talks about tonight's guest. It's special. He's someone we haven't seen in a little while, and how they have a common enemy. Owens goes on and introduces his guest. Music hits, out comes Aleister Black. Black is nowhere to be seen. At first, he finally comes out and is wearing a cover over his right eye due to a recent attack by Murphy. You know, on the steel ring step, like they did with Dominic, with Ray himself. Ordered by Seth Rollins. Black stops, stares at the steel ring steps, then changes his mind and doesn't use them to get in the ring. Just slides under the bottom rope. Owens thanks him for being here. Owens asks Black how he's doing and how his eye is. Black tells Owens to just show the footage. Owens doesn't think we need to see it, but Black insists. We see footage of Murphy injuring Black last month. Owens thinks he knows exactly what Black is feeling because Rollins and his disciples can get under your skin. They did it to Owens, making him question why he's here. Owens keeps talking, and Black sort of stumbles out of his chair to the mat to one knee. Owens gets up and checks on Black, calling for help from the back. Black decks him, then drops him with a black mask. Black stares down at Owens on the mat, then makes his exit as his music plays. Charlie Cruz approaches Sasha Banks and Bayley in the back while they're arguing. They're confident about Sasha winning her title back later. And then when that's over, they're going to get payback on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. They start them off as they go to commercial. Fatal 4-way for the 27 title. R-Truth versus Akira Tozawa versus Cedric Alexander versus Shelton Benjamin. Back for the break, 24/7 champion Shelton Benjamin is in the ring. Akira Tozawa and Cedric Alexander are there with him. Out next comes R-Truth, rapping to the ring. He's the only one that had ring music. Benjamin attacks Tozawa to start. Truth steals a pin for a 2 count. Benjamin stops on him. Alexander drop kicks Benjamin. Cedric unloads on Benjamin against the ropes out. They tangle, and Cedric sends Shelton into the turnbuckle. More back and forth, and Shelton nails a big knee to send Cedric to the floor. Truth goes to work on Shelton now. Shelton dodges an axe kick and beats Truth. Tozawa runs in, but Shelton launches him back into a group of ninjas at ringside. They put him back on the apron, but Shelton gets sent onto them. The ninjas hold Shelton at ringside, while Tozawa rolls Truth up for the pin to win the title. Winner and new 24/7 champion, Akira Tozawa. After the match, Choizawa grabs the title while Shelton beats up a few ninjas at ringside. Choizawa runs off to the back while with the title as his music plays. Mackenzie Mitchell stops Randy Orton backstage and asks if he has any response to what Drew McIntyre said earlier. Yes, he does. Orton walks off, presumably to the ring to respond. Back to commercial. Back from the break, we see what happened earlier between Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. Music hits, out comes Orton to the ring to booze. Orton takes the mic and goes on about how he's done whatever he wants for the longest time, to whoever he wants to do it to. Orton says that didn't happen at SummerSlam. He promised to everyone that he would RKO Drew, kick him in the head, and take his title, but he didn't. Orton says you can call him a lot of things, but one thing he is and forever will be is a man of his word. He promised to kill various legends, and he did, because he is a legend killer. Orton says Drew came out here earlier, and he was presented with an opportunity to kick Drew in the head, so he did, and it felt good, so good. Orton said he kicked Drew twice earlier because he offered Orton a rematch out of pity. Who the hell you think you are? Orton said, as he reminds Drew who he is, the legend killer, the greatest wrestler. The music interrupts, out comes Keith Lee to make his official Raw debut. Lee marches to the ring, and Orton stares him down. Lee smirks at Orton as they stare each other down. Lee takes the mic and says Orton seems a little perplexed. Lee says that would make sense, as they haven't been properly introduced, so allow him. Lee introduces himself and says he's come here to offer Orton this spectacular opportunity, this luxury, this privilege to stop what he's doing for just one moment and bask in Lee's glory. As that was his NXT music. Lee goes on about how Orton has been called the Viper, Apex Predator, or Legend Killer. Lee has been called many things also. Game Changer, Anomaly. The one thing is, we're certain, he's limitless. And since the limitless one is here on Raw, and since he is not so good friend, Orton, he is looking for a fight. With respect to Lee's friend Drew, Lee says he would step up if Orton is really to accept the challenge for a one-on-one match right now. Lee drops the mic, and Orton circles him. Orton asks if Lee wants to fight. Orton has asked again and takes off his jacket, but changes his mind and says maybe later. Orton rolls out of the ring to booze. Lee stares Orton down from the ring, and Orton looks back at him. Charlie's backstage with Zelina Vega, Angel Garza, and Demi Burnett from Bachelor. Charlie asks if Vega is finally ready to admit she poisoned Montez Ford. Vega sticks her to her story and say the footage proved nothing. Garza interrupts, and Vega tells him he's not helping her. Just saying things don't make sense. Vega storms off to get ready for her match. Garza talks to Burnett, and she mentions speaking to Ivar this past weekend. He tells Burnett she can come watch his next match. He then flirts some with Charlie before walking off. Burnett follows. Back to commercial. Back to break. We get the match between Keith Lee and Randy Orton. Made for later. Angel Garza versus Montez Ford. We go to the ring, and out comes Angel Garza with Jimmy Burnett. She takes a seat at ringside to watch the match. Out next comes the Raw Tag Team Champions, Montez Ford with Angelo Dawkins. They dance on the stage, and red cups fall from the rafters. Like at SummerSlam, we get a picture backstage video of the Profits. The bell rings, and they go at it. Andrade is also at ringside to support Garza. He distracts Ford. That leads Garza to landing a big drop kick in midair as Ford flies from the top. Garza rips his pants off and keeps control of Ford, charging him into him while he's upside down in the tree of woe in the corner. Burnett cheers Garza on as he covers for a close 2 count. Andrade cheers Garza on as he keeps control. Garza is distracted as Ivar comes walking down the ramp now. Garza shakes his head but keeps Ford down. Garza looks out as Ivar approaches Burnett and gives her a turkey leg now. Ivar asks Burnett if she wants to get out of here, and she does. Burnett walks away with her, with Ivar. Garza yells at them from the ring. Garza goes back to kick Ford, but misses Ford and lands a kick to him. Ford goes up top, but Garza ejects him and climbs up for a superplex. Ford resists and knocks Garza to the mat. Ford flies high and nails a big crossbody for the pin and the win. Winner match, Montez Ford. After the match, Ford stands tall as music plays. Dawkins joins him with the titles as they celebrate and go to replays. Nia Jax approaches Shayna Baszler backstage. Jax says she's thought about it, and she thinks that they can win the WWE Women's titles together. And she wants the titles. Baszler says if she helps with that, she wants Jax to get off of her back and leave her alone. Jax says as long as Baszler follows her lead, she gives a quick shove, but Baszler slaps her back and walks off. Jax goes the other way. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan come walking by when Bianca Belair joins them. They're ready to go out and whoop Zelina Vega and the Iconics back commercial. We go back to the ring, and Zelina Vega is out with the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Out next comes Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and Ruby Riott. Liv starts off with Kay. Kay sends her in the corner, and then comes Liv. Royce is in. Liv turns it around, and then comes Ruby for a double team. Royce decks Riott, and they come back in and levels Ruby with a big boot. Iconics with more tags, and they keep Riott down in the corner. Vega tags in and taunts Riott, decking her and taking her to the corner for more offense. Vega covers for a 2 count. Vega grounds Riott with a submission now. Vega ends up knocking the other off the apron and upsetting Belair. Belair and Vega have words. Belair tags in and unloads on Vega, knocking the Iconics off the apron as well. Belair with more offense and taunting to Vega. Belair with a glam slam to Vega and a moonsault, but the Iconics break the pin. Liv and Morgan run in with insecurity to the Iconics. Vega and Belair go at it now. Vega with offense and Belair connects with a big right hand. Belair follows up with a KOD for the pin and the win. After the match, Belair stands tall as the music plays. Liv and Riott join her celebration. Ricochet and Cedric Alexander backstage having an arm wrestling contest. Hall of Famer Mark Henry walks up and says he hates to interrupt their fun, but he has to take this equipment. He had 2 crew members remove it. For what's up next, MVP interrupts and asks Cedric why he's back here gooping around instead of trying to get WWE 24/7 title back. MVP and Ricochet have words. MVP accuses Ricochet of abandoning Cedric last week. MVP tries once again to get Cedric to take the offer to join the Hurt Business. MVP ends up walking off with a commercial. Back from the break, we see Apollo Crews retaining the U.S. title over MVP at SummerSlam. We see Mark Henry in the ring set up with an arm wrestling contest. He talks about how this will determine the strongest, something he knows all about. Henry says he's already told Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin to stay in the back. So this can be fair competition. Lashley says he doesn't need MVP or Shelton because we know who is going to go. He's not going to beat Crews up too bad so he can beat him up again at Payback for the title. Lashley calls Crews a little man. Crews says that's funny. Crews touts the win over MVP and is confident about Payback and says he will also beat Lashley tonight in this arm wrestling contest. Henry gets him ready for the first and only round, but Lashley jerks his arm back. Lashley stalls and takes his jacket off as the boots pick up. They get ready to go again, but Crews outsmarts Lashley and gets a win by stomping on his foot under the table, then slamming his arm down. Lashley is furious while Crews laughs around the ring. Lashley has words with Henry, but Crews starts celebrating. Lashley goes to attack, but Crews fights back. Lashley avoids the powerbomb and goes on, but Crews sends him out to the floor. Crews then leaps to the other side of the ring, taking down MVP and Benjamin as they run down to the ringside. We get a replay of Crews' arm wrestling win as Crews raises the title on the stage. A video package on Dominic Mysterio losing the street fight to Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. Dominic is backstage with his mother and father. Rey Mysterio right now. Charlie is also with them for comments on last night as well, as Rey and his mom was at the pay-per-view as well, making her debut. Dominic's parents are both supportive. Dominic admits being nervous, but his family backing him gave him the courage to go out there and get the job done. Rey goes on about family. Rollins will have to deal with his family being together for the rest of his life. Rey says his son became a man last night, so he's proud of his son, and he's been dreaming of sharing the ring with his son for years. He'll be danged if Seth can ruin this moment. Ray puts over his son some more and says, we're looking at the future overall. Back to commercial. Back from the break, Lana is in the ring with Natalya. Downgrading Mickie James again this week. Lana starts praising Natalya on the mic. Natalya interrupts and says she will get her WWE Hall of Fame induction on her own because she is the greatest of all time, which Lana says with her. Natalya then says, here tonight to pay tribute to Mickie James. They go on about Mickie riding their coattails. Natalya says tonight they will retire the chick with the kick. Natalya tells us to watch this reel she worked really hard to put together, showing highlights from Mickie's career, which is nothing. Nothing on the video. They laugh about that being Mickie's career. Nothing. Music hits, out comes Mickie to the ring by herself for a 2-on-1 competition. She immediately drops Natalya. Lana comes over, but Mickie drops her with a chick kick. Mickie is all smiles, and as music starts back up, and she exits the ring back at the ramp. Asking if we miss her, and she blows against the crowd and goes to the back. So come Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. Shane McMahon is backstage for Raw Underground security. At the final hour overall, your last hour overall is your all that. Hurt Business walks up as Bobby Lashley says he wants to fight tonight. He doesn't care who is against. Shane says he's in the right place. Hurt Business enters the Raw Underground door and we go back to commercial. Back to the break, Bobby Lashley is on the Raw Underground ring, ready to dominate. Dolph Ziggler steps up next and they go at it. As Shane told him to. MVP and Shelton watch from ringside, as does Shane himself. Ziggler also has to face Eric tonight, so he's got double duty. Eric and Lashley go at it. Ziggler gets on Lashley's back with a sleeper, but they keep fighting. Lashley ends up launching Ziggler face first to the wall at ringside. So that's the end of the match. MVP and Shelton also take some aggression out and has for talent and set into Lashley, but toss right back out. Lashley looks for another fight as Shane works the mic, sending us away. They don't even go into it as they go on to the next match in the ring. Keith Lee versus Randy Orton. We'll go back to the ring, and out first comes Randy Orton, looking over his shoulder for WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. Keith Lee is out, making his official Raw debut. Bell rings in and lock up. Lee takes it to the corner, but Orton grabs him for a headlock. As the referee warns him, Lee powers Orton off his feet, but Orton keeps his headlock applied. They run the ropes, and Lee leaps over Orton. Orton keeps running, but Lee levels him with a shoulder block. Orton looks on surprised from down in the corner. Orton comes out of the corner with uppercuts. Lee takes the strikes and catches a punch, overpowering Orton. Lee with a big overhead belly to send Orton flying. Orton rolls out for a breather, but Lee follows. Lee gives Orton to run him into the ring post, but Orton slides out and sends Lee into the post shoulder first. Orton brings him back into the ring and starts stomping on Lee's limbs. The Orton stomp, which he hadn't done in quite a while. Orton covers for a 2 count as Lee launches him. Orton keeps Lee grounded with another headlock. Lee powers Orton back into the corner with a backsplash. Lee splashes Orton in the corner and they run the ropes. Lee with a big crossbody in the middle of the ring. Lee keeps the choke and sends Orton out of the ring to the floor. Lee follows and brings it back in as the referee counts. Orton kicks him and goes for the second rope JBDDT. Orton does it and stalks Lee, ready to put him away. McIntyre suddenly attacks for the DQ finish. After the belt, McIntyre pulls Orton out of the ring and beats on him. Orton ends up running away to the crowd area, which is your LED screen area. Drew returns to the ring and stands tall as the music plays. Still to come, a look back at Roman Reigns' SummerSlam return. Back to commercial. Back for the break, we get a look at Roman Reigns' return from SummerSlam again. Tom hypes for the Holds Bar triple set with Reigns, Strowman, and Universal Champion Fiend Bray Wyatt at Payback on Sunday. And their contract signing on SmackDown. Charlie Cruz has stopped the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre in the back for comments. Drew says he's really happy for his friend Keith Lee, but he doesn't need anyone fighting for his battles. Charlie asks Randy Orton and what happened tonight. Drew says he doesn't feel good because Orton tried to end his dang career. Drew turns around to the camera to address Orton, but Orton attacks from behind and drops him. Orton delivers a third kick to Drew's head. Officials rush over to Orton to get him back off, and they check on Drew. Back to commercial. Back from the ring, Charlie is outside a trainer's area room where Drew McIntyre is. She overheard Doctor talking in the room, and it sounds like Drew could have a potential skull fracture and possibly bleeding on the brain, which could be career-ending. Charlie says that's what she overheard from doctors in the room and not confirmed, but she will be back later with an update. Lumberjack match for the Raw Women's title, Sasha Banks versus Asuka. We go back to the ring. Out first comes WWE Women's Champion Sasha Banks with her partner, SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley, the Iconics, Bianca Belair, Ruby Riott, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Mickie James, Shayna Baszler, and Lana are all at ringside as Lumberjack. Out next comes Raw Women's Champion Asuka, who won the title from Sasha Banks at SummerSlam. And Asuka posts in the corner as Pyro goes off. Bayley joins the Lumberjacks by herself. Bell rings and Banks goes for a quick pin attempt. Asuka comes right back and tosses her to the floor. Ruby stares her down. Banks shoves Ruby into the barrier. Asuka knocks Banks off the apron as she tries to re-enter back in front of Ruby. Bayley comes over to keep others off of her partner. Baszler steps up and Bayley backs away. Two sides of Lumberjack face off at ringside as we go back to commercial with Banks trying to recover from the floor. Back from the break, Banks drags Asuka to the floor by her hair. Wails away on her. Banks holds Asuka while Bayley hits her in the gut with a title belt. Banks tosses Asuka back in the ring. Banks follows and covers for a 2 count. Banks runs into a big kick in the corner. Asuka comes off the second rope in the corner and drops Banks on her face for a 2 count. Asuka ends up rolling Banks in an ankle lock. Banks crawls from the bottom rope, but Asuka pulls her back. Asuka tries to kick at Bayley through the rope after breaking the hold, but she falls out of the ring to the floor. Banks leaps out, aiming for Asuka, but takes out Billie Kay and Peyton Royce instead. Asuka attacks from the apron and levels Banks on the floor. Asuka ends up taking out a few other Lumberjacks on the floor. Banks capitalizes and brings Asuka back in the ring and nails a big frog splash. Asuka kicks out too. Bayley then grabs a steel chair from under the ring for Banks, but Bayley stops her. Asuka takes advantage of the distraction and applies the Asuka lock to Banks from behind. Banks ends up tapping out for the finish, and Asuka retains. After the match, Asuka stands tall as the music plays. Bayley rolls into check on Banks, and she's not happy. We go to replays. Banks and Bayley stare up at Asuka from the mat as she stands tall. Baszler stares at the tag team champions from the floor. We go backstage to an ambulance driving away. Charlie says Drew McIntyre is being taken to the hospital to undergo further testing. Keith Lee is with her. Lee says a big part of him wanted to tell Drew not to interfere in his debut match, but he understands that and just saw his friend get taken away in an ambulance. Lee says, fortunately, Drew is one of the toughest men that he knows. He will be okay. But Randy Orton, I can't say for the same. Lee says as he walks off. We see Ray and Dominic Mysterio backstage walking to the ring. Back to commercial. Back from the break, Tom announces Lee, Keith Lee, Shayna Baszler, and Dolph Ziggler for all talk. We go back to Raw Underground as Bobby Lashley fights with Cedric Alexander. Lashley ends up applying a submission until Shane and MVP break it up. Ivar runs in, but Shelton Benjamin also hits the platform. Eric tries to make the save, but he also gets beat down. Lashley has an arm submission on Ivar until the bell rings. The Hurt Business cleans house again and stands tall ahead of next week's Raw Underground segment. Randy Orton versus Keith Lee is confirmed for Payback. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins and Murphy, also Payback. We go back to the ring for tonight's main event. Rey Mysterio and Dominic come out. Seth Rollins and Murphy are out next. Mysterio meets their opponents at ringside to beat them down during the entrance. Both teams fight around ringside area. Ray sends Rollins in the barrier. Murphy and Dominic trade shots. Rollins launches Ray over the announce table. Dominic gets double teamed at ringside. Murphy brings Dominic into the ring, and the bell rings. The match is officially started. Dominic blocks a backbreaker and tosses Murphy with a hip toss. Murphy blocks another, but Dominic keeps coming and nailing a drop kick to send Murphy to the floor. Dominic runs and drop kicks through the ropes to send Rollins to the now table, face first. Murphy comes from behind, but Dominic sends him to the floor. Ray sends Rollins into the barrier. Ray brings Rollins into the ring, and Rollins is surrounded by father and son. Now, Rollins gets double teamed and sent into the ropes by Dominic. Ray goes for the 619, but Murphy pulls Rollins to safety. Dominic flies to the floor and takes them both down on the floor. Dominic returns to the ring and stands with his dad as we go to commercial. Back for the break, Rollins ends up dropping Ray. We see how Ray took a big backbreaker from Rollins during the commercial break. Rollins taunts Ray while he's down. Rollins with a cheap shot to send Dominic off the apron. Ray fights back, but Rollins shoves him into the corner. Ray also hits Murphy. Ray counters a move and sends Murphy off the apron. Kicks Murphy off the apron, then drops Rollins with a big bulldog. Murphy tags in and stops Ray from tagging. Ray with insecurity, and he tags to Dominic. Dominic comes off the top and rolls through. Dominic mounts offense on Murphy now. Dominic springboards in from the apron and sends a crossbody for a close 2 count on Murphy. Murphy sends him into the corner, but runs into a boot in the right hand. Dominic with a hurricanrana from the top to send Murphy into the ring post. Dominic counters again and spikes Murphy with a big DDT. Rollins breaks the pin up just in time. Dominic brings Murphy back in, but Rollins provides a distraction and Murphy turns it around. Dominic comes in, but avoids a buckle bomb to tag in Ray. Ray unloads, but Murphy comes back in. Ray ends up dropping Murphy into the position for the 619, but tags in Dominic instead. They hit double 619 on Murphy. Dominic goes to the top. The lights start flicking. Could this be Retribution? Rollins shoves Dominic from the top to the mat. Retribution members suddenly hit the ring and surround Dominic. Ray had chased Rollins away, but he runs back into the ring. To be with his son now, Ray tries to escort his son out of the ring, but Retribution attacks and beats them down. As Rollins and Murphy watch from the stage, smiling, possibly, they are also. Could it be Return of the Shield members, minus Dean Ambrose, as the Retribution? But, like I said, Rollins runs away, but he runs back to the ring. The boos get louder as Ray and Dominic are beat down by the members of the Retribution. Dominic gets knocked out to the floor. Ray is launched to the floor, face first now. They toss Dominic into the bear as the piped-in boos pick up from the crowd. 2 of the Retribution bigger members torpedoed Ray into the ring post. They continue standing over Ray and his son, taunting and yelling at them. No contest of the match was officially even given. Retribution Town Hall on the apron as Rollins and Murphy look on from the stage. Fans in the virtual crowd give the thumbs down to Retribution as they pose on the apron together. Raw goes off the air at that point, and that concludes my video for the results of Raw and your SummerSlam results. Thanks again. Peace out. See you on the video. If you don't know, just call me, brothers and sisters.